viewers, and welcome, especially all our subscribers who have reached more than 72,000 plus in the last few months. All of you who are eager to learn good English have varieties of learning tools in this channel. The 200 plus videos which I have uploaded, everything has some improvement or the other. Many of you have said in a poll which we conducted that you would like to learn good conversation, because conversation is the basic skill for all of us when we want to speak good English. Most of us use conversation every day, many times in each day with different people. So this video tells you how you can learn to excel in conversation. I shall give you a few points which you have to keep practicing in order to excel. Please remember that practice is what makes you perfect. I'm giving you many ideas, but if the ideas remain in your mind, then you are not going to benefit. You are not going to become a good conversationalist. For your conversation to improve, you have to use the tricks, you have to use all these tips and see how much they work. Evaluate yourself by saying which of these points you are failing in and which of them is your strength. In this way, if you make your strength stronger and you control your weaknesses, you overcome your barriers, you will become good at conversation. Not only good, but I'm saying excel. That means excellent. You will become excellent. What you need to do first, the first point I would like to tell you about is that you have to cultivate your confidence level. Your facial expression, your eye contact with the person you're speaking to. If you're speaking to a group of people, look at all of them. And especially in an interview room, if there are 5 interviewers, don't answer by looking at one person. And keep telling yourself that I am feeling confident. I am confident. I will do well. In this way, your conversation becomes better. Because before they see what you say, they will see your body language. They will see your face, your expression. If you look nervous, if you look, in such a way that you are hesitant, not only in speaking, but you are hesitant even in appearance. All these points are visible in your facial expression. Our face is very clearly a communicator of something which is beyond language. So do that. The second point is think of some conversation topics beforehand. Suppose you are going to a place where you will meet many of the people whom you already know. So you know their interests, you know what to talk to them. You might also meet many people whom you are meeting for the first time. Depending on the age group, depending on the background, depending on what they like to do, you would be able to think of some topics. So in your mind, you start thinking that these are the topics I would like to discuss today. These are the topics I may be able to introduce into our conversation today. As you think of the topics, the sentences also come to your mind. That is why I told you already, thinking is very important. Start thinking in English. Start thinking about some conversational topics which you can use in any situation. Suppose it is a party. Suppose it's a picnic. Suppose it is a neighboring function, or you have gone for a wedding, or you have gone for a birthday. These are all different contexts where you should have different topics of conversation. If you are meeting in a club, you might want to talk about politics or economics. But if you meet in a wedding, you would certainly not talk about that. You might talk about both the families, how they got, connected to each other, how they arranged the wedding, what are the excellent qualities of their arrangement, which event managers they used, and so on. So keep thinking. Now we move on to the third point. Many people, especially those who know a lot of big words, try to introduce them into their English when they are speaking. Remember, conversation is a very informal speech. Conversation is not a very formal speech. So use short sentences, use simple expressions, use words which are simple. Many of you keep commenting saying, Madam, your language is very simple. The reason is because I'm not talking to people who want that academic excellence. If I go to give a lecture to people who are teaching in universities, all the professors in different universities, which I did a couple of months back, 3 lectures. There I will use a vocabulary which is very high, a construction of sentence which is very advanced, because they need that. But for us, in an ordinary conversation and an informal conversation, we don't need that. So don't try to use all the English which you have learnt, all the high level things which you have learnt in your conversation. I have recently uploaded a video on proverbs. If you use these proverbs, which are so simple, which are so clear, your conversation becomes better. When suppose you're narrating something, a proverb helps you to say it in such a short way. Its meaning is also packed into those 4 or 5 words. That you can use. But if you use a very advanced and very complicated language in conversation, that is not good. Our aim in a conversation is to build a relationship. Please remember this point. We are trying to build a relationship. Somebody who doesn't know very good English hears a lot of big words and complicated sentences. They feel that, we cannot have a conversation with this person. Therefore, you have to be very careful where you are using what kind of English and whether this is helping you to get close to the person you're speaking to. We should have a bridge. Conversation is always like a bridge. You say half the thing, the other person, the listener, replies to what you say. Therefore, that bridge should not be broken by your trying to show off. That is not a good quality in a conversation. Now, next very important point in conversation, which you must remember, is that whenever you want to carry on a conversation for a long time, that conversation has to extend for a long time, then what do? You try to ask interesting questions. You try to ask questions which encourage the other person to talk. Don't ask questions to put the other person into trouble. That is not a good idea. You are asking a question in a manner which is very, uncivilized. You are asking a question rudely. That is not good in conversation. But you are asking a polite question, but you are trying to put the other person into trouble. So your politeness is right, but your mental attitude is that I want to find out if this person knows anything or not. That is not good for conversation. Please remember that your questions should be such that the other person can speak on in answering. That person can speak for a little time. That person is able to tell you something for a short time. Suppose you ask a question, a very common question. How are things? Or how is it going for you? These are simple questions, which means You want to know how the other person is managing life. What is happening in the other person's life? You can see how happy that other person is to share whatever he or she wants with you. Now, if that person doesn't want to share, then that person will say, everything is fine. Thank you. I'm okay. That one sentence is enough to tell you that don't ask any more questions on the personal nature. Go and ask other questions. You can say, this weather is uncomfortable, don't you think? Then that person says, yes, it is very hot today, and summer is very cruel this time, and so on. So weather is very safe. Everybody can talk. So your simple question, do you agree? Don't you agree? That is my opinion. What do you think? These are ways in which you can encourage a conversation to go forward. We don't want a conversation which is only 1+1 exchange. We want a conversation which takes at least 2 minutes or 5 minutes. Then we need to know what kind of questions we should ask. Now we move on to the next point, very, very important point. That is, you must find yourself opportunities to engage in conversation. As many times in a day as you can speak, you must do it. Many people are very outgoing. They meet a person at the bus stop. They can start a conversation by saying, have you been waiting for long? Then that person replies by saying, no. If that person wants to say more, if that person also wants to extend the conversation, then that person says, no, I have just come here. I'm waiting for such and such a bus. And then, what about you? Then the other person, the first person who spoke, replies. Sometimes the other person does not give you more than a single word. Then you can still try 1 or 2 questions. When you realize that person is not going to speak, then you just give up. But don't give up at the first opportunity. Try to find as many occasions to carry out a conversation. In this channel, I have uploaded many videos on small talk. In each of these small talk videos, I have given you topics and I have given you examples of conversation. Apart from that, there are many videos which are purely conversation. From a 1-page conversation, only 5 or 6 exchanges, many in a single video, to an entire 20-minute video with 1 conversation only. All these are there on the channel. So if you really want to improve, you need to watch those and practice those. How will you practice? You will practice by reading whatever is there in those videos, because all screens are available. And reading it 3-4 times, watching it, you can switch off the volume and just read it aloud for yourself. Then you switch on the volume and listen and say, have I read this like it is being read? In this way, you can test yourself. You get ideas for conversation. You get language for conversation. You get the right intonation. All these are very helpful for you. So every opportunity, every small talk, all these make your conversation skills strong. That is what we want. Now we move on to the next one, and that is, if you do not have anybody to practice it with, suppose you are alone, there is nobody around you who can help you by practicing with you in English. Many of you want to practice with others, but you need not do that. You can practice on your own. You will find in most of the videos what I'm doing is I'm reading out both the characters. There is one conversation on a mango. There are so many characters there. Everybody is talking about the mango. And then You find only my voice. You don't find anything else. Therefore, you can do it alone. Think of a conversation, you and your family, say somebody from your family. You take these two people. Then you imagine what that other person will say. You say your part and you say the other person's part also. In this way, you can practice. Think of a colleague. What will you talk about? Or when you have had a conversation, think of a similar conversation and practice alone by using both exchanges, both persons' speeches. You are practicing on your own. Now, see the advantage of this? You are getting double the amount of practice. That is really great. So, practicing alone is not difficult. There is an entire video which says that you can practice on your own alone. Please watch that video. You will get many ideas, because all what I have uploaded in 200 videos, I cannot tell you in one video. Therefore, I'm just giving you these references. Please check the channel list for all of them. Now, we come to the last point, which is a very important point. Suppose the conversation is being carried out for a long time. Now you want to end the conversation. Ending the conversation becomes difficult if one of the speakers is speaking a lot. Many people say, oh, that's enough, now let's stop. That is very rude. We should not do such a thing. A conversation shows your etiquette. It shows your politeness. It shows the way in which you behave with other people. Not only your English, but also your attitude and your behavior. So when you want to end a conversation, then you must be very polite. You must avoid being rude. What you can say is, this is very interesting. What you're telling me is very interesting. I'm sure I would love to hear more about this. But, now when you introduce but, the other person immediately knows. Today I'm in a little bit of a hurry. Could we continue this later? You are polite. You are also putting it in a form of a question, polite request. Then the other person has to be sensitive. Suppose the other person is insensitive. He says, no, I have to tell you. Please give me 5 more minutes. That is also not good conversation. You must understand the other person's needs and the other person's attitudes, requirements, or the other person's body language, which is telling you that person is eager to leave now. So you can say, yes, what you say is right. I can tell you much more about this when we meet next time. So the other person said, but I'm in a hurry. So you have said that, okay, we shall discuss it some other time. Maybe some other time never comes. It's possible that you never have another time. But please remember, these are polite ways of ending a conversation. Just like starting a conversation is important, you greet and you ask some question which will get you a reply. Ending a conversation is also very important. I have done a video on how to start, but since I haven't done a video on how to end a conversation, I have given you elaborate examples here. If you follow these examples, keep in mind the attitude you should have. You are carrying out a conversation to build a relationship, to be polite, to show interest, to practice your English and also your soft skills. These are important. Unless you do that, you are not a good conversationalist. Unless you practice, you might find that somewhere or the other you fail. So don't do that. Try to keep practicing, and if you Practice by getting more and more ideas about the kind of people you meet. Suppose you have gone to a shop and you meet a stranger, then you can always talk about something which is available in that store and you discuss it in great detail. You are buying fruits or vegetables. Somebody else is also buying. You can ask, how's the quality? Do you think these will be fresh? Or do you think these fruits will be sweet? These kind of questions begin a conversation. Sometimes such casual conversations lead to lifetime friendships. You meet a stranger, you start a conversation, you become friends for life. So your English improves, your life also improves. So please practice. I wish you all the best and thank you.